Never get angry again. Master Stoic self-control with these 5 rules. Stoic bloom. Have you ever wished you could stay completely calm, even when someone disrespects you in front of everyone? Most people explode, walk away furious, or spend days mentally replaying the insult. But what if you could flip that reaction entirely? Imagine becoming immune not just to insults, but to any emotional disturbance. No words, no gestures, no tone of voice could ever shake your peace of mind. It sounds like superpower stuff, but the Stoics already lived this way. Today you'll discover how to train your mind to be unbothered for life with 5 timeless principles from ancient Stoicism. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally unbeatable. Let's begin. Part 1, reframe insults. The power of perception. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And when it comes to insults, this couldn't be more accurate. Most of the pain we feel when someone mocks or criticizes us doesn't come from their words, but from our own interpretation of them. Think about it. If someone called you a green alien from Mars, would you feel hurt? Probably not, because you know it's absurd. But if they insult your intelligence, your looks, or your job, that hits closer. Why? Because deep down, a part of you believes it might be true. The Stoics understood this psychological trap. They taught that perception is everything. What someone says about you isn't the problem. It's how you interpret and internalize it that causes pain. The next time someone insults you, try this. Pause. Breathe. Then ask yourself, is this really about me? Or is it about their own frustration, insecurity, or pain? Most insults reflect more about the speaker's character than your own worth. If you shift your mindset and start seeing insults as meaningless noise, irrelevant, like static on a radio, you take away their power. What once stung like a dagger now feels like a breeze. Pointless, empty. Here's a practice. When you hear something offensive, silently tell yourself, this is their problem, not mine. This small sentence becomes a shield. And that shield, when used daily, builds emotional armor. And remember, being calm doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're in control. If words can shake you, then anyone can own you. But if words bounce off you like rubber, you own the moment. If you've ever dealt with toxic coworkers, passive-aggressive relatives, or online trolls, share this video with them. Or better yet, share it with someone who keeps taking things too personally, like maybe yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and let us know in the comments the weirdest insult someone ever threw at you, and how you handled it like a Stoic warrior. Slogan: Stoic bloom. Your perception is your fortress. Build it strong. Live unbothered. Part 2. Control what you can. Ignore what you can't. Epictetus, once a slave who rose to become one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, gave the world a life-altering insight. Some things are up to us, and some things are not. These 12 words can change the way you experience every confrontation, every annoyance, and every insult. Think about how much time we spend getting upset over things completely outside our control. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A stranger says something rude online. Your boss micromanages your every move. What do all these things have in common? They're external. You can't control them. What you can control is your response, and therein lies your true power. The Stoics believe that inner peace comes from understanding this sharp division between what's within your control, your thoughts, your choices, your reactions, and what's not, other people's words, actions, and opinions. The moment you begin reacting less to what you can't change and investing more energy into what you can, your mind starts to shift. Let's break this down with a real-world example. Say a coworker snaps at you unfairly. Your initial reaction might be anger, but pause. Ask your reframe, can I control their attitudes? No, can I control how I interpret it and how I respond? Yes, that's where the Stoic lens comes in. Now imagine approaching that same situation differently. You hear the harsh words, but instead of reacting, you remember, this is beyond my control. But how I respond, that's my territory. You take a breath, choose your next words calmly, or maybe say nothing at all. You walk away not only with your peace intact, but also your power. It's easy to say, let it go. It's harder to do, but when you start practicing this principle consistently, it becomes a muscle memory. The next time someone tries to hijack your emotions, you'll instinctively ask, is this within my control? If not, release it like smoke drifting out a window. Let it go, not because you're weak or avoiding conflict, but because you're choosing clarity over chaos. And that, my friend, is how you turn frustration into freedom. Stoic bloom. Control the controllable, release the rest. That's the Stoic way. Part 3. Practice negative visualization. At first glance, this idea might sound depressing. Why would I want to imagine bad things happening to me? Isn't that pessimistic? But to the Stoics, it was actually one of the most empowering mental tools you could ever practice. Negative visualization, or in Latin, premeditatio malorumum, means rehearsing adversity before it arrives. And no, it's not about expecting the worst all the time. It's about preparing your mind so that when challenges come, they don't shake you. They simply meet a mind that's already ready. Marcus Aurelius did this daily. He would begin his mornings by saying to himself, "Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." And then he'd add, "But none of these things can harm me." Why would the most powerful man in the Roman Empire do this? Because even an emperor can't control the world around him, but he can train his mind to face it with grace. Try this. Each morning, take 30 seconds. That's it. Just 30 seconds to mentally preview the day. Remind yourself, people might cut me off in traffic. Someone might criticize my work. Someone might ignore my message. But I won't let it disturb my peace. It's like putting on emotional armor before stepping onto the battlefield of everyday life. If someone does insult you, it's no longer a shock. It's part of the scenery. Expected, anticipated, already neutralized. This isn't about being paranoid. It's about being mentally strong. A soldier doesn't hope for battle, but he trains daily for it. Why should your mind be any different? Let me give you a relatable example. Say you post something heartfelt online, and someone replies with a snarky, dismissive comment. You might feel disrespected, but if earlier that morning you reminded yourself, people might be rude and that's okay, your reaction will be completely different. No rage, no spiral, just a raised eyebrow and a scroll past. Over time, you stop dreading conflict. You expect it, absorb it, and remain still. And hey, if you find this idea powerful, maybe don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with that one friend who always says, "Why does this stuff always happen to me?" They need a little Stoic forecast in their life. Smash that like button if your mornings could use less chaos and more calm. Subscribe now and drop a comment with your favorite Stoic quote to mentally armor up the rest of us. Slogan: Stoic bloom, expect the storm, build the shelter, walk through it untouched. Part 4, respond with indifference. There's a certain kind of power that can't be shouted. It doesn't slam fists or raise voices. It's quiet, calm, unbothered. And nothing frustrates a toxic person more than your refusal to play their game. When someone tries to provoke you and you respond with calm indifference, you send a very clear message. You don't control me. I'm not yours to manipulate. The Stoics believe that silence is one of the greatest responses a person can give. Not out of weakness, but out of strength. Think about it. When someone lashes out and you lash back, you've already surrendered your peace. You've made their chaos your own. But if you stay calm, if you meet their fire with water, you win without even lifting a finger. Let's use a metaphor from nature. Anger is like a fire. It needs oxygen to keep burning. Your emotional reaction, yelling, defending, arguing, that's oxygen. The moment you stop feeding it, the flame dies fast. Now imagine this, someone's ranting, insulting you, desperately trying to get under your skin. You don't flinch, you don't respond. You look them in the eye, smile gently, and walk away. That's not avoidance, that's command. That's mastery. And deep down, they know it. This isn't just theory, it's emotional judo. When you don't resist, the force they push against you collapses under its own weight. Their anger can't land anywhere because you've refused to catch it. Here's something to remember. When someone loses their temper, they want to pull you into their storm. But you have the choice to remain the sky, wide, untouched. Still, it doesn't mean you let people disrespect you. It means you choose your moments and your battles with strategy, not ego. You respond when necessary. You stay silent when it's wise. And you never hand over your calm just to prove a point. Because indifference in the Stoic world is not about apathy, it's about poise. Stoic bloom. When they burn with anger, be the ocean, deep, cool, and unmoved. Part 5. Strengthen your mind through daily discipline. Stoicism isn't something you read once and suddenly master. It's not a motivational quote you slap on your mirror and forget by lunch. It's a practice, a discipline, a daily workout, not for your body, but for your mind. And just like going to the gym, you don't see results overnight. You build strength with consistency, sweat, and small repetitions that compound over time. The Stoics knew that the only way to build a resilient mind was to train it every single day. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself constantly, journaling his thoughts, doubts, fears, and reminders to stay composed. He didn't write for fame. He wrote for clarity, for focus, for mental alignment. Seneca wrote letters to his friends, not just to share ideas, but to reflect, recalibrate, and reinforce what he believed. It was their version of therapy, accountability, and mental sharpening all in one. So what does this look like for you? Start small. Each night, take 5 minutes to write down moments when anger, frustration, or anxiety crept in. Don't judge yourself, just observe. What triggered you? How did you react? How could you respond better next time? You're not trying to be perfect. You're building awareness. And awareness, my friend, is the gateway to mastery. Maybe you start each morning with 60 seconds of silence. No phone, no noise, just breathing and visualizing your day through a Stoic lens. Who might test your patience? What insults might fly your way? How will you remain still through it all? And don't underestimate the power of reading a single Stoic passage a day. One sentence from Epictetus or Seneca can anchor your entire mindset for hours. The key is to stop reacting blindly and start living deliberately. Think of your mind as a fortress. You wouldn't leave it unguarded. So why go through life without mental training? Every time you journal, reflect, or meditate, you're laying another brick in that fortress. Every breath you take, instead of snapping back, you're tightening the drawbridge. And one day you'll notice something beautiful. The things that once disturbed you now amuse you. The chaos that once controlled you now passes like wind through the trees. If that vision speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who's been letting life knock them around. And hey, if you've made it this far, that means you're already part of the Stoic Bloom family. So hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave us a comment about your daily mental ritual. Even if it's just drinking coffee in silence, that counts. Stoic bloom. Discipline your mind and no one can disturb your peace, not even you. Part 6, the secret of emotional immunity. The Stoics weren't emotionless, they were emotionally immune. There's a big difference between pretending not to care and genuinely being at peace. The former is a mask, the latter is a muscle. The secret, it's not about avoiding people, it's about developing such a strong internal foundation that no matter who tries to disturb your peace, you remain untouched. The world is unpredictable. People will disappoint you, words will be unfair, situations will arise that trigger old wounds. But when you've done the inner work, when you've trained your perception, sharpened your awareness, and practiced daily resilience, those external events lose their power. Imagine your mind like a still lake. When a pebble of negativity lands on it, the surface might ripple slightly, but it never disturbs the depth. That's what emotional immunity looks like. And it's built through everything we've covered so far. Reframing insults, controlling your responses, visualizing the worst-case scenario without panic, and practicing indifference as a form of self-respect. But above all, it's built on one powerful belief. No one can make you feel anything without your consent. This doesn't mean you never feel sadness or anger. You're human, but instead of reacting immediately, you observe it. You examine it. You ask yourself, is this useful? Does this deserve my energy? And most of the time, you'll find the answer is no. One day, someone will try to trigger you. They'll throw bait, push your buttons, maybe even insult everything you stand for. And when you smile, say nothing, and go on with your day. That's the moment you'll know you're not pretending, you're free. Stoic bloom. Emotions may knock, but only you decide who gets in. Part 7, reclaiming your inner authority. What if I told you that every time you get angry, you're giving someone else the remote control to your mind? And worse, you're letting them press the buttons whenever they want. That's what anger really is. Emotional surrender disguised as strength. The Stoics knew this well. To them, anger wasn't a sign of power. It was a leak, a signal that someone or something had accessed your inner world without permission. So they trained relentlessly, not to suppress their emotions, but to regain authority over them. Think about it this way. You wouldn't hand over the keys to your house to a stranger. So why hand over access to your peace to anyone with a bad attitude? Every time you react blindly to provocation, you say, without realizing it, here, take control of how I feel. But when you pause, breathe, and respond with intention, you reclaim that authority. Let's put this into a real-life scenario. Say someone publicly embarrasses you, a joke at your expense, a jab in front of others. You feel the heat rise. Your body tenses, but you don't move. You don't bite. You choose. You think they can say whatever they want, but they don't get to decide how I feel. I do. That pause, that moment between stimulus and response, that's your throne. That's where sovereignty lives. And here's the beautiful irony. When you stop trying to control others, you begin to master yourself. In a society where outrage is everywhere and offense is trending, the truly radical move is calmness. The new rebellion is inner stillness. The revolution, it starts in your breath. If this hits home, if you're ready to take the remote back, send this video to a friend who's always reacting, always rattled. Or better yet, save it for the next time you feel the storm coming. Let this be your reminder. Subscribe for more tools to train your emotional discipline. Like this video if you've ever handed over your peace and regretted it, and leave a comment telling us what helps you stay grounded when chaos knocks. Stoic bloom. He who rules himself cannot be ruled by anyone else. Part 8. The final barrier. Freedom from ego. If there's one last frontier the Stoics urge us to conquer, it's not the world, it's ourselves. And at the heart of that self is the ego, the most subtle, seductive source of anger. You see, most of our emotional turbulence doesn't come from what others say or do. It comes from our own inner voice screaming, "How dare they treat me like this?" It's not the insult, it's our pride reacting to it. The ego whispers, "You're too important to be disrespected." And when someone crosses that imaginary line, we erupt, not because of them, but because our image of ourselves has been scratched. But the Stoics had no time for ego. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor no less, reminded himself daily that he was just a man among other men, soon to be dust. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that we should accept criticism with the same grace we accept praise, because neither defines who we really are. To let go of anger, you must first let go of the need to be seen a certain way. You must release the craving for recognition, for respect, for status. Not because those things are bad, but because being chained to them makes your peace fragile. Think of your ego like a glass sculpture. Beautiful maybe, impressive, but one small hit and it shatters. When you build your identity on how others perceive you, you become as breakable as their opinions. Now imagine being made of something stronger, something invisible, your sense of worth coming from your character, your values, your choices, not from applause or approval. That's the Stoic model. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing to defend your image, nothing can insult you. If someone calls you a failure but you're grounded in purpose, you feel nothing. If they call you arrogant but you've done the inner work, you reflect, not react. Freedom from ego is the final barrier. Once you cross it, you're no longer at the mercy of compliments or criticism. You've returned to yourself, calm, clear, and complete. Stoic bloom. When ego fades, peace remains.